All right, so you know how everyone's always talking about, like, feeling distracted, like, all the time?
Yeah, totally. It's like we're constantly bombarded with stuff.
Exactly. So for today's deep dive, we're really going to kind of get into that.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, we're looking at this book called The World Beyond Your Head.
Mm,
And it really digs into, like, all the ways that our attention gets pulled in a million directions.
I feel that.
Right. And it also offers some pretty interesting ideas about how to, how to kind of reclaim our focus.
Interesting.
Yeah. So what's the main kind of takeaway from the book? Like, what's the big argument?
Well, the book really argues that it's not just that we're choosing to spend so much time online.
Right.
It's that all this digital engagement is actually changing the way our brains work, you
Oh,
know.
wow.
Yeah, and it's making it harder to actually focus on things, like really focus
Hmm.
and to really learn things deeply.
And to find, I think, satisfaction.
Exactly, like real satisfaction, not just that like quick hit of dopamine from, checking your phone.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Um, One of the things that really jumped out at me was how the book talks about, like, knowledge workers
Oh, right, yeah.
and how, like, our reliance on screens, even though we're, like, using them for work, can actually kind of prevent us from really understanding things.
Yeah, absolutely. Like Crawford, the author, he talks about how, we're always like flitting between tabs, skimming articles, and it creates this illusion of knowledge. Like
Yes.
we feel like we're learning all this stuff, but are we really?
Right.
I mean, are we really grappling with the ideas?
It's like we're kind of tricking ourselves into thinking that we know more than we do.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that can be a real problem, right? I mean, it can limit our ability to think critically,
Absolutely.
to form our own conclusions, to
Hmm.
really engage with the world in a meaningful way.
So how do we break out of that?
Well, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
So the book, it talks a lot about this idea of embodied experience.
Embodied experience. Okay, now that sounds a little out there. What exactly does that mean?
So embodied experience, it's basically about the power of learning by doing, by physically engaging with the world.
Okay.
So think about like learning to play a musical instrument.
Okay.
The book uses the example of a violin.
Okay.
So like it's not just about memorizing the notes on a page,
Uh-huh.
right? It's about the feel of the strings under your fingers,
Yeah.
the precise movements of your bow, the years of practice that it takes to really produce of a beautiful sound.
Right.
And it's that deep engagement with the physical act of playing
Hmm.
that creates a much richer understanding of the music than just listening to a recording ever could.
Oh, wow. So it's like you're not just, passively consuming information.
Oh, exactly.
You're actually creating something.
Exactly. You're actively participating in the process, and
Mm.
and that makes all the difference.
It's like that saying, I hear and I forget, I see and I remember, I do and I understand.
Exactly.
Yeah. And that kind of leads into another big idea from the book, which is this concept of skilled practices.
Yes.
Right. So tell me about that.
So, skilled practices, these are activities that require, real dedication,
Yeah.
focus, a commitment to getting better over time.
Okay.
And it could be anything really. I mean, it could be, woodworking, it could be coding,
Right.
knitting, gardening, anything that kind of challenges you to develop a skill.
Hmm. And what's interesting about these skilled practices is that they don't necessarily have to be, like, directly related to our work, right?
Right, exactly. And that's what's so fascinating about them
Okay.
is that, even if they seem completely unrelated to what we do on a daily basis, they can actually help us counteract the negative effects of all the digital distractions.
So it's like we're building mental muscle.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that. It's like the more we practice focusing on something challenging and meaningful,
Yeah.
the stronger our ability to resist, all those digital temptations becomes.
Oh, that's a really good way to put it. And this is where the book's kind of argument for slowing down comes in, right?
Exactly. That's a big part of it.
Okay, so I got to be honest, that's the one that kind of threw me at first
Yeah.
because it just seems so so counterintuitive. Like everything in our culture is about, going faster, doing more, being more efficient.
Yeah, no, I get that. It's definitely it's a different way of thinking.
So how does slowing down actually help us reclaim our focus?
Well, I think we comes down to this, right? When we're constantly rushing, we're constantly trying to do a million things at once, we end up missing so much,
Right.
right? We skim the surface of things, we sacrifice depth for speed.
Hmm.
But when we slow down, when we really take our time, we give ourselves the space to actually learn things deeply,
Yeah.
to really appreciate the process of creating something and to find a deeper satisfaction in our work.
Hmm.
It's like it's like the difference between gulping down a meal and really savoring each bite.
Oh, okay. I like that analogy.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the theory behind all of this,
Right.
but let's get practical. Like, what can we actually do to reclaim our focus in our everyday lives? I mean, the book does offer some pretty concrete strategies, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the biggest things is setting boundaries with technology.
Okay.
Right. It's so easy to get sucked into that constant stream of information. Like our brains are literally wired to crave novelty.
Right.
And those notifications, all those pings and buzzes, they're designed to exploit that.
Yeah.
So we have to be really intentional about creating some space,
Hmm.
right? So some things you can try. Um, Silencing your notifications,
Yeah.
creating tech-free zones in your home, like maybe the bedroom is a no-phone zone.
Right. Right.
Or even scheduling like specific times of day when you completely disconnect.
I've actually tried that, and it's amazing how much more I can get done when I'm not constantly like switching between tasks.
Yeah, it makes a huge difference. And another strategy that can be really helpful is scheduling dedicated focus time.
Okay.
Right. So blocking out, chunks of time in your day where you can just work on a single task without interruptions and really get into that flow state.
Okay. So it's not about demonizing technology altogether.
Right, exactly.
It's about using it mindfully, right? As a tool, not letting it use us.
Exactly. Crawford, he's not anti-technology. He wants us to have a more conscious relationship with it,
Right,
be
right.
more intentional about how we use it.
Yeah. And one thing that I really appreciated about the book was how it connected this whole idea of reclaiming our focus back to like finding meaning in the physical world.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Like, that sense of accomplishment that you get from creating something tangible, something you can actually hold in your hands. It's a different kind of satisfaction, right?
Yeah. Yeah, there's a real beauty in craftsmanship, whether you're building a piece of furniture or writing a novel or even just, preparing a delicious meal. It's the process of creating something tangible.
Yeah.
It connects us to the world in a way that digital experiences often can't.
Right.
And it gives us a sense of agency,
Mhm.
of purpose, of satisfaction that can be really, really fulfilling.
So I guess the big takeaway here is that, we're facing a real attention crisis. Like this is a real thing. It's fueled by all the digital distractions that are constantly vying for our attention.
Yeah,
But there's hope.
absolutely.
Like we're not powerless.
Nope, not at all.
We can tap into the power of embodied experience.
Yeah.
We can cultivate those skilled practices that help us build our mental focus,
Mm.
and we can rediscover the value of slowing down.
Exactly. So with all that in mind, I'd like to leave you with this thought. What's one small tangible skill that you've always wanted to learn?
Hmm.
Something that would bring you joy, something that would challenge you and something that would connect you more deeply with the world around you.
Hmm.
Maybe it's time to dust off that old guitar
Yeah.
or pick up some knitting needles or finally try your hand at pottery.
Right.
I mean, the possibilities are endless and the rewards are immense.
I think that's a great place to leave it.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us for this deep dive,
Of course.
and we'll see you next time.
See ya.